Melissa K., how is fear transformed? By coming to see that it is imaginary. Now, this isn't, it's a bold statement. This isn't an intellectual, this is not an intellectual reframe. 99% of the things that we are afraid of are creations of the mind. They're an image of the mind that is frightening, that is almost always an expectation of what might happen in the future. And because it doesn't know what it actually is going to happen in the future, it appears to have the authority to say, well, it might, therefore I should be afraid in advance. Now, if you'll notice that belief, and it is pervasive, this is the belief under which the world works, right, makes it impossible to ever feel safe. Can you see that? Because yes, something always could go wrong. Something could go wrong, right? Which means if I have to be in a state of fear now to deal with what could go wrong later, I will never, ever, ever feel safe. As a matter of fact, to that point of view, feeling safe would lend you less safe. Think about it for a second. To feel safe makes you unsafe. This is the nature of that idea. Fear is the body, in its natural state, is the body primed to run, to get away from danger. Now, it developed in such a way that it only got into that state of fear when the danger was real, imminent, and bodily. And it had to get away. It did. And getting away was more important than anything. So opportunity, looking for anything, creative endeavor, drawing a cave painting, no, none of that happens. This has to happen first. Now, if the danger is being created by the mind rather than a real danger, that sense of fear is going to be primed. It needs to get away, but it can't get away from it because it's not here. It's not an imminent danger. It's a potential. It's a focus of attention. And so the body is in this state, we call it stress, okay, that's ready to run, doesn't know where to run to or where to run from, and therefore it's kind of sitting in this is the traumatic energy. You're stuck. This is trauma. You're stuck there. You can't run. You can't fight. You can't do anything about it. There's nowhere to go. Right? That's the freeze. That's what we experience as children. So you can start by simply saying, yes, I totally acknowledge the fact that could happen. Is it happening now? No. Is anything threatening me right now? No. So then, if nothing's really threatening me right now, then the fear I'm experiencing is imaginary. It's what might happen. Now, we have all been trained to put more emphasis on what the bad that might happen, because it's more important to defend ourselves against danger than it is to grab for opportunity. But we have as much authority for assuming what's going to happen will be good, will be beneficial, progressive, and wonderful, and take me to a safer space, than to be bad. Matter of fact, they love to say in New Age circles, fear and it will appear. Don't focus on your fears because then they're going to happen. I ask you, in your own life, your direct experience in your life, how many things that you were really afraid were going to happen actually happened? I'll bet it was a tiny minority of them. So from the perspective of your own life, you have more evidence for believing that really good things, the most positive outcome is going to take place, or at least a workable one is going to take place of what might happen. You have more evidence for believing that than for the opposite. And yet we've all been trained to focus all of our attention on defending ourselves from what might go wrong rather than preparing ourselves for all the wonderful things that could go right. Right? And this is how fear gets transformed. What arises in you through this act, the process of inner reconciliation, where you are beginning to integrate all of these feelings. The feelings you thought were a problem become powers. The things you were afraid of begin to just kind of vanish. You see them as being creations of the mind and not a reality. In this recognition or this reconciliation, you begin to awaken within you your natural resources. And the real solution to fear is knowing deep in the body that whatever happens, I'm its equal. I don't need to know in advance, like be prepared, because I am perpetually prepared. I will only need this inner resource when the environment calls on it. So I don't have to prepare in advance. When that demand takes place, when it's necessary for me to act in a certain way, I will act, and I will have all the resources needed to do that. Now, the more I am open to this whole inner space within me, the more I've reconciled with myself, the more I am not clutching to a particular sense of identity, the more fluent and flowing I become, the more I show up in any experience or any environment without an agenda, the more I have availability to me, the infinite, unlimited resources that are actually, truly yours. And this is the end of fear. So now the only time your body would feel fear is when there really was something to be afraid of, and it was right here and looking down your nose, and and in that moment, the inner resources to deal with it would appear, exercise themselves, and then disappear when they're no longer needed. You'd know when to run. You'd know when to fight. No one to hold them, no one to fold them. and this is what it means to be a whole, harmonious human being. That's the fullness of being human.
Yeah.